And I think we're live. Hello and welcome everybody. Please let me know if the sound's okay or if it fades in and out. I'm a bit crap with using this microphone, as we've already established. My name is Laurel Papworth and I'm a social media strategist. I've been working a lot this year with ministers of parliament and government and different agencies, and specifically around targeting audiences and then mapping out the purpose, the values, the needs of those audiences to ensure that social media are strategies. And by strategies, I mean the whole thing, content calendars and campaigns and boosting and whatever it is that people want to do, reaches the right audience. We are not in the popularity game, believe it or not. 50 million followers is not going to help you resolve an issue to do with a local airport or local school. So that's what we're doing today. We're looking at 18 audiences, because it's such a popular question. If you're watching this, please let me know. If you're hearing a crackle, I'm using a Blackmagic Vision and microphone switcher, which seems to have some thermal crackling from time to time. I'm trying to resolve that. If you're new here, welcome. I use my live streams to test out tech. So every so often I'll stop and I'll ask you how things are working out. And I've got an actual new computer today. So we're not trying a new mic or a new camera or a new setup or a new version. It's a whole new CPU, computery thing. All right, so let's get started. And did it work? Yes, it did. Oh, I'm a bit large. You don't need to see that much of me. Let me just drop that down. I'm on my play page. You can tell it's my play page because I have my hair in rollers. And this is the page that I use to demonstrate rubbish. And I also store my videos and my tutorials on here. So if you like the page, every so often you'll see me writing a blah, blah, blah post because I'm training. But I also have my videos on here. So facebook.com/silkcharm. I'm also going to show you some bits and bobs on Twitter as well. So targeting is the step one of your social media strategy documents. I know that government has a lot of documents. You've got a crisis comms document. You've got the do's and don'ts in content calendar and engagement calendar documents. You've got your influencer strategies and your joint venture strategies documents. You've got regulatory, you've got staff, you've got all different documents. But in your strategy document, the first thing that we do is we target audiences. I like you bigger in the corner. No, don't. Is this the right size? You like this size, do you? Okay, by popular demand, you can see more of my rather weirdly coloured green screen face. I'm actually much paler in real life and less green, but there you go, a little bit bigger for you. Thank you, Gary. Right, so let's start with audiences. I think the first thing to understand is that Facebook and Instagram, but also Twitter, if you're looking at the Twitter segmentation, they use third-party partners to pull in big data. So if you ever wonder what big data is, it's when you use your credit card, when you use your everyday rewards card, when you walk into a store that has facial recognition, object recognition, deep face, all of those deep objects. It's collating and curating all of that information algorithmically. A human being couldn't possibly do this. And so I'm on a site at the moment that Facebook and Instagram Australia uses, and the kind of things that they collect and curate are where, so for instance, prudent nostalgia or your budget, pension to pension psychographic. So if you are a council or politician looking after an area that has a budget retiree, you have to separate them out from all the others. And there's like 8 different types of budget retirees. 8 different types of retirees. So they're very different from Golden Days, who have time and money and fly Emirates. I suppose they did back in the day before the apocalypse. Whereas these guys for holidays tend to go on princess cruises or stay within Australia and go to theme parks with the grandchildren, that kind of thing. Gold Coast, taking a caravan or a tent somewhere, if they can get away at all. So there is a whole bunch of this group. If you split them down further, we're just doing big picture stuff at the moment, and I'm going to get into the 18. If you split prudent nostalgia down further, you would also look at the retirepreneur, and these are people who are working to 70 and beyond because they can't afford to retire, and some of them don't want to. Retirepreneurs themselves split down further again. In fact, in the online course space, we very much separate out those that need to work versus those that enjoy learning and working for its own sake. I think with Golden Days, it would be pretty obvious that they keep working, but they keep working because they're directors on the board. Prudent Nostalgia keep working, but they might be working at the local shop as a cashier or something like that. All of this is not drawn from surveys. So I know that politicians like to look at their Gallup polls and their news polls and things like that. And absolutely, media companies are pulling in big data as well as declarative being surveys. I declare that I don't smoke. But then when you look at quantiums associated with Woolworths, when we look in the Woolworths quantium area, we can see that they have a high dollar spend on cigarette smoking. I don't think that's big enough for you guys. Go there. Cigarette smoking. There you go. Big cigarette smokers. How much are packets of fags these days? But anyway, if I ask people, do you smoke in a survey, they say no. And then they laugh and they say, maybe socially or when I'm stressed. Hello, welcome to 2020. If we go to Golden Days and we zoom in, can you see that clearly? Yeah, Joseph just said big data is big business. You betcha, you want to see how much the government's spending on big data. And I'm putting together material at the moment on how we're going to have an Australia card. Do you remember the Australia card? We had a referendum, we had a vote on whether we would have something like the Social Security card that America has, and we voted against it. And then big data came along and just made that irrelevant. And so we can see that Golden Days spend very little on cigarette smoking. And this segmentation is critical because of the way that Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn and all of them create the different audiences for your campaigns. So we're going to get into that. By the way, LinkedIn uses the social graph data research, but they call it the economic graph. They're looking at the economic relationship between, let's just go back to me for a minute. They look, I am green. I'm really fair in real life. Not green. You can call me Kermit. LinkedIn has the social graph. You'll be familiar with that if you're a social media manager working in politics. And they call it the economic graph, and it looks at, did these people go to the same school? Do they have the same jobs, the same income? So it's mapping out different data sets within the big data-ish stuff. And let's just go to this. So on LinkedIn, Kerry said it's the new black in the uni sector, that and AI. Oh, big data is? Oh, absolutely. If you look up data research and data analytics for courses. Who does the free online courses? Is it Harvard? Check out edX, which I think is Google's nano courses, Coursera, and the other one starts with F. Somebody will know and put it in the comments probably after this has gone live. And they have nano courses from universities. I also want to point out that not only is data research and AI and all those sort of courses popular across the board, but that a back to university target audience is not only international students, and we split them up into different psychographics, but also retirees. There are more and more people probably in the golden days or smart townies or one of those kind of target audiences that want to go back to uni. But this is about politics. So they are going back to get degrees. So let me go back to here again. And it worked. I'm always amazed. I love pressing buttons. So the first audience we're going to look at is within your Facebook page. This is one that's been actually hidden. It's in settings. But I want to point out it's hidden, but it's not gone. And then in preferred page audience, we'll open that one up. It says, we've removed the page preferred audience feature. I need to make this smaller, don't I? Bigger, I mean. Which page owners could edit the country or age restrictions of your page to restrict your page appearing to certain audiences. And it's a bit of a fib because they removed a lot more than that, which really explains how your channel, and that's a Facebook page, a Facebook group, your personal profile, events, or your Instagram accounts, whether that's a business account, a creator account, or your personal account, but also Twitter, and also LinkedIn, personal profiles, groups, company pages, again. Each one of those is called a channel, and each one has a preferred audience. And you used to be able to set it, and it was more than setting the country. I only want Australians to see this, which would make sense for Australian politicians. There's a rather hilarious example of Tony Abbott, our ex-Prime Minister, mentioning cricket and then being swamped with people liking his page from India because they like cricket, and he was coming top for cricket because of the verified account, you know, lots of followers and engagement type of things. So it is problematic, but I'll show you how to fix that for you to edit country and then age. Obviously, if you were a vodka company, you want over 18. And if you only want to talk to voters, you probably want 18 and over as well. Because it's hidden doesn't mean it's gone. Doesn't mean we can't manage it. The second thing is it did a lot more than that. I could go into a page and say, I want this page to target only single women with children who live in this area and shop here and watch this thing on TV. Those people I want to target. And then I could really do targeted or niche comms that doesn't end up being ignored by audiences it's not relevant for. So what else do we have here? LinkedIn Learning, where they're trying to carve out. Yeah, LinkedIn Learning is fascinating because LinkedIn discovered that their psychographic of the whole of LinkedIn was too old. I think I was on LinkedIn in 2003, definitely by 2004, definitely. And we are all 16 years older. We'll leave it there. And so one of the challenges, of course, was that the new graduates wasn't seeing LinkedIn as being relevant. And so LinkedIn started showing up at college. What do they call them in America? Those like festivals that colleges have that students go to and meet potential employers and potential advanced studies, and you know what I'm talking about. anyway, LinkedIn started showing up there, and really working on LinkedIn as a way to have an entry-level job. So it wasn't just for mid and senior level management. And then they brought in LinkedIn Learning for some of that stuff as well. Hi, Ram from Dubai. Pleased to meet you on LinkedIn. And yes, good. Let's keep going. So another kind of audience is, so you used to be able to set this for the page. So what you need to do now is sit down and decide who your page is for. And you want to set up two different kinds of strategies in your social media strategy targeted audience section. One is direct audiences. Who are your priority? Who can you talk to directly? And you'll want a page for that, maybe 2 pages. Donald Trump is a great example. I think he's got about 10 pages to meet the needs of his different audiences. Everything from MAGA to Trump for America to, but once you dig in, you realize how targeted they are. I have to say, no brilliant examples in Australia. I'm doing my best, but meeting resistance. Everybody seems to want to have one page for local audiences, national audiences. Like Wollongong audience, and then the whole of Australia, and then they want one for teenagers, and they still want to put teenagers and families with young kids and senior citizens and businesses all on one page. And the algorithm, we already know that. I don't want to go into it. Won't comment that. The audience will be chosen. Facebook will look at all your audiences and say, I'm only going to show your stuff to young families, or I'm only going to show your stuff to business. So you're better off. I guess it's like a magazine. You want a bargain travel magazine, and you want a luxury magazine, and you want a family travel magazine, and you want a teenager backpacker magazine. You don't want to put them all in one magazine. Okay, so Facebook will choose your audience. They will look at the country and the age restriction, and then they'll look at everything else. And it's all based off of these Q segments that I mentioned before. And it's definitely, the companies that they're using, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, what they call their third-party partners, are using all of the behavioral mechanics. So it's not declarative, it's not on. Just because your posters are going out and this is why polling was so wrong during the last bunch of elections around the world, because what people declare at the gate as they go in and as they leave is not behavioral. It's much better to look at their actions over the MAU, the monthly active user, which is 28 days, and then you can crowdsource directions. And I'll tell you now, big data's been accurate every time I've looked at it, and the posters have been inaccurate. But let's leave them alone for the time being. We don't need to have a dig at them all the time. So your actual channel, your page, needs to have an audience. And then each post needs to have an audience. So the way I do that is I use Creator Studio. And feel free to have a moan at me in the comments about how bad Creator Studio is, Facebook's Creator Studio. I don't know if it's Facebook Australia, because I know sometimes we're ahead with the iterative rollout. So we get the early versions. There's about 1,800 versions of Facebook running at any given, 1,200 versions running of Facebook at any given time. Sometimes we're in version the first 200, sometimes we're in the last 200, and it all depends on how everything's working. So if I click on post something, I don't have the ability to change Twitch. I don't know why, but it's not available to me to change it. So it stays on World of Warcraft, whether I'm doing World of Warcraft or not. There is nothing there for business. So I am sorry if you think that this is about World of Warcraft. I'm just looking at the comments, but it's not. But the description should tell you a lot more. So I'm hoping that people who are searching for World of Warcraft actually read the description of what I'm doing, which is 18 audiences for social media. Let's have a look here. When I type in here, hello people, see what I mean? It's a play page. And then when I go to public, I can change it and say newsfeed targeting. And then I put in here, I browse, and I choose I can choose under browse like a category system for who I want to target, or I can put in here yoga, and then from here I can choose suggestions and ask it to give me suggestions. So you don't have to post, if your channel's set up for one audience, you don't have to post that for every secondary audience, if that makes sense. You don't have to do it for all of them. If I know, for instance, that my page is for too many audiences, I can go into family and relationships and I can choose motherhood. And that way, if I'm posting something that's specific for mums, then I know that they'll see it. And that Facebook will, and Instagram and all the others, will split out my whole audience and then do directed, targeted. And this is on a post-by-post basis. So preferred audiences for your whole page, that's your first audience. And then your second one is when you're creating posts. This is not an ad. This is just normal posting. You can do this here. Let me just go into... Okay. I'm just having problems at the moment with one of the channels. So we go here. Sorry guys, let me just come back to here for a second. And I'll go to... I don't know how to do this very well. I think I'm going to have to leave this channel the way it is. Yeah, okay. This is what happens when you do a live stream. And I have... All right, that's fine. Okay, I've just turned off the Twitch one because people were expecting it to be about World of Warcraft, which is the thing that I did yesterday, so we're not doing that anymore. Okay, let me carry on. I did a thing on gamification. Right, so we have one audience for our page called Preferred Audience. The second one is where we're going to do newsfeed targeted audiences. So that's the second audience. And that is for post by post, making sure that your political statements on family benefits only go to families, or your new services for teens only go to teens, or your something about retirees only go to retirees, because every time one of your target audiences doesn't interact with your actual target audience, when the other non-audiences ignore you, you're penalized in the newsfeed. So you really want to stay with your targeted comms at this point in time. So that's newsfeed targeting. You're in Creator Studio and you're putting up your posts and then you're choosing newsfeed targeting. If you want to restrict to 18 and over and only to Wollongong, if you're not sure where Wollongong is, it's near Canberra, between Sydney and Canberra in New South Wales. And now I can make sure that post on that page only messages Wollongong. And this is kind of critical, particularly for national MPs who are struggling with talking about big picture national issues alongside local issues. And they will not create 2 pages no matter what we do. But anyway, Facebook's advice on this is pretty poor. I think all of Facebook Australia's advice is on buying ads that I've seen. I might be being unfair, but if you can link me to something where they do edu-social rather than how to do ads better, please let me know. So we are going to look at ads, and we're going to look at ads because I want you to see the analytics tools and understand the 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 different type of audiences that come through those analytics tools. So what I'm going to do is just hop into the audience section. I thought you might find this interesting, core audiences, and they talk about the partner categories. And this is where the quantiums, epsilons, Datalogics, some of them have changed names, the Salesforce one, Axiom, Epsilon, Datalogics, Quantium, Salesforce, Marketing Cloud, I don't know. They use the third-party partners to pull the data in. What kind of car do you own? All that kind of stuff. So now I'm going to go into facebook.com/adsmanager/audiences. And yes, this is under Ads Manager, but it's a good way just to find numbers, just to do that news poll type of research, but based on big data behavioral analytics as opposed to declarative survey analytics. And when I'm in Create Audience, what you'll see is that there are 12 audiences under Custom Audience, 1 audience under Lookalike Audience, 1 under Special Ad Audience, and 1 under Saved Audience. 1, 2, 3, and 12. 15. I should win an award for maths. I did win an award for maths a long time ago when I was a little wee lass at school. I'd actually been put in the remedial maths class because I had a different way of thinking about maths, but I went on to win the Westpac maths competition, or in the top 10 in the state. And that was probably the last time I won anything, to be absolutely honest with you, but hey-ho. Maybe I'll win the internets one day. But I don't have Kim Kardashian's bottom, so that doesn't seem relevant. Anyway, we're back talking about politics. So I want to talk about the saved audience. We'll do boosted later. We want to do this first. A saved audience, if you're confused between saved audience and custom audiences, and they are separate, even though they can sit together and coexist, a saved audience is the manual audience, where I write the person's name, because it's always a good idea to have them clear in your mind. Becca likes meditation and yoga and CrossFit and The Bachelor. I don't know. And I know that she's a young professional. Maybe I should just write down young professional. But you need to know this stuff. Young professional, and she works in the urban area of the demographic, of the psychographic. And leave custom audiences for a moment. We'll come back to that. And this is a manual audience. I'm literally going to say that she's a woman, that she's 22 to 33, speaks English, and she has her education is that she has a university, undergrad, I don't know. But I can identify her and set her up so that when I'm putting up a post that's going to affect young professionals working in the CBD, I can just pick Becca and send it to her and make it clear that it's for women working in the area, like we've made the streets safe after dark, some sort of messaging like that. And then I might have a slightly different tone to men who would be less worried themselves about walking after dark, but maybe worried for their partners and their loved ones. So when you create a saved audience, you're manually creating the audience. You're having to choose everything yourself. Nothing is automated. I mean, obviously, they're pulling in the data of, they know when people went to uni because they're looking at the health insurance forms and the mortgage forms and all of that, which is declarative, but not optional. So people tell the truth typically on those forms because they're applying for a loan or mortgage, or it's for health insurance. They might say they don't smoke, but their credit card tells them otherwise, and it's fine because the health insurance company has access to that. When you create the saved audience, it's now saved as the manual audience Becca Young Professional. I also have one for yoga meditation that live in Wollongong. I have one for Blue Mountains family people. So I've gone through and manually created these audiences. Let me move out of the way a little bit. There you go. Right. Next thing. When you create another audience, so that's saved audience, that's your manual one where you know your audience and you're really, really familiar with that audience's behavior in your constituency. So if you're a local MP and you know this audience shops at Audi in the high street, that they buy clothing at Target or Big W, and they do not get organic food from the organic markets, and they do. If you know your audience really well and you know the area really well, you know what school they send their kids to, you can go in and set up the audience and name all those things. If the audience data set is too small, like the local school is too small to show up on the Facebook options, then you can broaden that usually a little bit, like private school, public school, and things like that. Anyway, let's keep going. What is custom audience? These are where the 12 audiences sit. So the first audience you can choose is a website audience. Have people come to your website. You have to have the pixel installed on your websites. So if you've got a local MP site or local MP pages, and then you've got national MP microsite or national MP pages that are specific for national, you can target specific pages that you know specific audiences would have come to. So you've got a page at the moment on your website to do with a national study on bushfires. You can create an audience called bushfires, farmer, rural, something like that. Put in the people who visited that page to see what your policies were. Then they can be targeted with new information, new boosted posts, new whatever it is you want to do. If you're going to boost posts, do it through Ads Manager. Don't do the basic boosted post. It's a bit rubbish. And Ads Manager has a boosted post option, which works really well. I know social media experts tell you not to boost posts. They're talking rubbish. There's at least three instances I can think of where boosted posts do better than a normal created post or dark posting or anything else. A customer list is where you upload a list of your customers, such as email list. So if you have permission, you can, that depends on your terms and conditions when people sign up for your email list. You can upload your email list, and then I think you have to set it at 90 days, or have they increased it then? Oh, I don't want to do that for this account. Sorry. Let me just go into here again. Custom audience. So you upload your email list, having made sure in your terms and conditions it says something like you may be targeted with with content from us on other social media platforms. And you can do this on all the platforms, LinkedIn and the Twitters and things like that. But you upload your customer list, your email list, and these might not be people that visit your website, and they may not have liked you on Facebook or any of the social media platforms. And especially if you are struggling with an opening rate on your email list, now you can target people who opted into an email list, but maybe they didn't open it up a couple of times. So Gmail or Hotmail or something put it in the junk mail folder. And this is a way to target them and say to them, in case you missed it, in this month's email, we're addressing this, this, and this, or whatever it is you want to say to them. So you know that they're warm, what we call warm leads. They're constituents and stakeholders who know you, have already signed up for something, and are interested at some level. And you want to do, what people have to see things 8 times before they act on it. So why not use that warm lead list and then retarget them? So that's website, that's customer list. That's number 2 of 12. And number 4 or 5 altogether. App activity. Do you have an app? I don't know of any apps that MPs might have. Activist groups do. They're all over it, but... I can talk a lot, but I do need a drink occasionally. If you're interested, it's soda water with a sugar-free lemon and lime thingy. Offline activity. And that's going to be people who come to your town halls, if you're still having them. Oh yeah, customer list, your Zoom town hall list. So these are off Facebook for audiences that you can create warm leads, people that visited an issues page, people that sign up for your email newsletter, people that came to your town hall, people that downloaded your app or game. If you know of any apps that politicians are using, please let me know. I'm thinking of something like Bang the Table, those kind of apps. But you have to have the admin access to it or the database. If you want to go on Facebook, people who interacted with a video you put up, you can target them again. Target people that follow your Instagram account who are the visual story types, so that's a separate kind of an audience. People who filled in a lead form. What kind of lead form would politicians or MPs have? Well, you could probably combine kind of a survey thing with that. I use lead forms for small business. I haven't actually done this with politicians and MPs, but I might find a guinea pig in one of my sessions coming up. I've got a few in the next few days, and we might just explore lead forms. So this is where people fill in a form. Typically, it's the beginning of a funnel to get access to something. And if you're not familiar with funnels, everybody has funnels, not just businesses. So government, about awareness campaigns, MPs with constituents to get to bring them in the funnel, to bring them on board, to get them to come to a town hall. The people that announce a town hall on the day, you've already learned, just doesn't work. So being able to build funnels to direct traffic to stay in front of mind and to have brand awareness, all those things are super important. And I realise I'm flapping my hands in front of my face, which is not a good look. Never mind. You can use people who've signed up for one of your events, like your town hall or us AMAs, Ask Me Anything. Instant Experience is a long form web page within Facebook. Another day, people engage with your Facebook page. Shopping. Okay, the only one I can think of is Donald Trump, who has big shopping on his Facebook ads. I don't know if he's still doing it. I would imagine that he is. It's funny it's listed under issues, elections and politics. I think it's because he's using it for He's using it for fundraising. Let's go to United States. These are all the different pages. I mentioned targeted pages. And then in here we want the fundraising stuff. I guess it depends on what he's pushing at the moment. Oh, tickets for coming to town. I don't know if he sold tickets. I'm guessing he did. I don't see any shopping filters on this one. Anyway, he was doing a lot of fundraising through his online shop, and you could buy T-shirts and hats and rides in the limousine and all kinds of stuff. So I don't know too many Australian politicians that are doing the shopping experience, but you could target people who come to your Facebook shop or your Instagram shop to download a We Love the Gong t-shirt, buy a We Love the Gong t-shirt. Maybe they didn't complete their purchase and you want to remarket to them. And blah, 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 blah. On Facebook listings. We're at this one. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Oh, so badly designed. Facey books, you really do suck sometimes. Let's go up to there. I just want to check what they're saying. Oh, on Facebook listings from your catalogue. So you can upload your catalogue today. Really great for eBays and Amazons of the world. Maybe not so much for the politicians. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 types of audiences under custom audiences. And then you've got all your audiences that you can create and save under saved audience, but that's one. Then you've got your preferred audience for your actual page. Then you've got newsfeed targeting audience, which is post by post. And then the last two audiences, because this is going on for way, way too long. How long are we going on for? 42 minutes. Let's keep this under an hour. So your lookalike audience is the stranger audience. With your saved audience, you manually know who you're looking for and you target them. This is where you already know. Custom audience can sometimes reveal odd demographics or psychographics you weren't familiar with. They're people that lobbed up at a particular web page on your website or that ended up on your email list. And quite often when I'm working with politicians and MPs and things like that, they're a little bit surprised by some of the niche groups that get involved in different things. So you think your audience is one type, but it's revealed that it's a different type. So custom audiences are automatically generated by Facebook from big data and remarketing pixels and all kinds of things. The lookalike audience is the audience that don't know you or your typical audience, your direct marketing audience. And what Facebook does is and Instagram and all the others, it profiles, for instance, your page, your preferred audience, who you're targeting, which is why you have to have a niche audience for that page. And then it goes out and it finds all the other people that look like that. So let's say you are a politician in the Bondi area of New South Wales. You might find that your audience on your page is primarily young hipsters. And I know that's not the only audience. There's old retired media people. There's all kinds that live in the Bondi area. But you take what Facebook does is it looks at everybody on the page, creates a preferred audience. It says in the last 28 days, this is the audience that's engaged with the page primarily. And then it looks for a lookalike audience and builds looks like this or stranger audience. I don't know how else to explain it. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So a lookalike audience, what do I have here? I've got a 1% audience that looks like my page. I've got a 2 to 5% audience that looks like my page. I've got lifetime value audience. That's what LTV means. And I can pick up to looks 10% like that audience. So if you know that you've done a really good job of targeting, I think for Trump, with one of his pages, he does 55 and over in certain states, Wisconsin and towns. If you know you've done a really good job of targeting, then what the lookalike audience is, oh, Beth and Betty and Bertha are all on your page, but we can go and find Barbara, who doesn't know that this page exists. Let me go find and bring her back for you, because she looks like Bertha and I forgot the names now, but you know what I'm talking about. And that's how you create a lookalike audience. So you really want to think about the lookalike one. The last one is the special ad audience, and this one is super critical for politicians. And I know it says credit, employment and housing ads, but it is mandated that you must be listed in the ad library if you're going to cover anything at all. Oopsie. Let's go back to this one. Australia. Under issues, elections and politics, special ad categories must be listed in the ad library. You cannot get away from that if you're in politics. So really think about your special ad audience, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to be talking about issues. And it could be to do with money or income or the economy. It could be to do with jobs and raising jobs and things like that. It could be to do with housing and the housing industry. And even if it's not, you typically want to still look for ways to ensure that you're listed as issues, elections, or politics. Have I seen posts and boosted posts that politicians have done that have nothing to do with issues, elections, and politics? Kind of. I've seen a few where they take a photo of themselves with their grandma and then go Happy Mother's Day and just leave it at that. Is that brand awareness raising for a politician? I would argue yes, and therefore up to you. Take whatever risks you want to take with the Facebooks. I have seen a lot of disallowed ads in both America and Australia and elsewhere by Facebook and the other platforms, because the MP or the politician didn't get it right. But I would, up to you. If you don't list them here, there is something that they say. Let me go into my bookmarks manager, and it's like Facebook, and it's special issues election. It's always a good idea to make sure you've got these things bookmarked, because sooner or later somebody has a whinge at me and says what I'm saying is not true, or they've been allowed to get away with it, or whatever. Oh wow, temporary pause on all Facebook ads from November the 4th. That's quite a long while. So if your ad is about social issues, if it's anything that would normally be regulated, our regulations are so poor in Australia that I probably would suggest that Facebook has stronger regulations on political advertising than we do. And the ads must have a disclaimer. So if you're a politician, you want to make sure no matter what audiences you're using, boosted or not boosted or whatever, If an ad runs without a disclaimer, it will be paused, disapproved, and added to the ad library until the advertiser completes the authorization process, which probably explains why I've seen so many of them lately. So many disallowed ones. It's a little hilarious that an American corporate, Facebook, is allowed to censor international global politicians, MPs, senators, whatever you want to call them. But it is what it is. And it's, for some reason or the other, government is fighting for overseas companies to regulate Australian citizens. That's their beeswax. All right, so the audiences. Every Facebook page, Instagram account, Facebook group, LinkedIn page, company page, whatever, needs to have a preferred audience. You need to define the audience for each channel. You have 28 days. You can change it if you need to, every rolling 28 days. Second, if you're super stuck and for some reason the other regulations or internal processes haven't caught up with targeted comms on social, keep one page, but then use Creator Studio to do newsfeed optimization. You may have to go into settings and turn it on, otherwise it's turned on for every page, but then target each post to retirees, to whatever. Thirdly, go into Ads Manager audiences or wherever it is on whatever platform. I think on LinkedIn it's in Campaign Manager, the audiences, and create all the different audiences. Create saved audiences for all your psychographics. I don't use demographics because then people just say retirees. Psychographics are those 8 or 9 different types of retirees. You know which ones you have, and you may have a combination of them across your constituency, your area of concern. So go in and manually create them under saved audiences. If you don't want to manually create them or you want to combine them, go into custom audiences and upload your email list, upload your Zoom town hall list, connect to your website and allow the pixels from Google and LinkedIn and Twitter and all of those to create audiences automatically for you. So that's your custom audiences, and there's 12 there. There are 4 off platform. If you're talking about Facebook, there's website, there's apps, there's whatever. And then there's another 8 for Facebook and Instagram, which are on platform. The page and the who watched a video on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. So who interact with different content, all those kind of audiences. Make sure you identify special audiences if you're dealing with housing, the economy, jobs primarily. And make sure you're identifying your disclaimers for issues, elections, and something like that. That's just a side on the audience. Just to be clear, the audience is called the special audience, and then the disclaimer belongs to the ad. So audience, you don't have a issues audience. You have an issues ad, and then you have a special audience. Anyway, and the last one is the lookalike audience. Once you've done a really polished sense of this audience is for these people, this content is the right content for the right people at the right time, then you can really leverage and optimize unpaid and paid content into the different algorithms. I know this is tricky. If you're used to heritage media, like talking on the radio or TV, you're sort of used to an everyone audience and really doing broadcasty things. The platforms don't work that way. So your social media strategy really needs to identify that. And I just want to give a shout out to all the people who commented. So Gary and Joseph on Facebook, Kerry, Ram and others on LinkedIn, Onya, Pepperoni and others on Twitch, and YouTube never delivers me the comments till about a day later, so I don't know why they do that. Thank you for your time. If you're coming to an end and wondering what this was all about, it's me still looking very green. I need to fix my green screen. Talking about different audiences. I do these sessions so I can test my new tech setup, and I can also test tech setup, software, hardware, and I use tutorials to work through those. There are no warnings when they come up, except that I do a news one on 10:30-ish on Monday mornings, where I go through the social media news of the week, you know, what platforms have changed, what's been trending, what companies and organizations have been doing. I focused on Meldy's come in at the end. I focus on social media news for Australia. This session was focused on politicians, just because I'm working a lot in politics at the moment with clients, political clients, and who knows what's coming up. If you have a preference, if you would like me to walk you through something, please let me know. I'm very happy to take on requests and do them. All right, I'm going to love you and leave you, and I'll see you probably on Monday now. Thanks, bye.